Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of Algorand Mondays. We've got the crew here. We've got David over at Crypto for Change. We've got Will over at the Passive Income Network. What is going on, everybody?
Yo, what's good, y'all? What's good?
Enjoying another great Monday in the Algorand world.
Indeed. It's a
action this week.
Jam-packed action. So what's everyone seeing out there? Of course, I mean, I've had a busy day, so I mean, we could start with that. Did either of you tune into the X-Finite and or Paul Regal interview?
Yeah, I was there for both.
I missed the X-Finite because I was sleeping.
Sleeping.
West Coast, man. West Coast.
Well, David, let's start there. What did you think of the X-Finite space?
Yeah, it was good. I definitely, except for the very end, the meowing guy. It was kind of no, but it was good. I obviously hold a small bag of XCT. I did think it was cool to hear what the word Mazzalo stands for.
What does it mean?
Shoot, now that you
it basically means to have fun.
have fun. Yeah. I knew it was something about fun. So I thought that was cool. Obviously, there was some good dialogue with, the way they see Netflix business model and how Netflix may transition over time, as well as their model and what they're building. XCTC, it's like, it is a very lucrative, just like I mentioned in the Twitter post, mine didn't get chosen for the question, although a couple of my question was kind of incorporated in some of the others. So I'm glad they won some free XCT with theirs getting picked. But it's cool. But at the same time, being a U.S. resident, being someone who, if I go on the Mazzalo app and I wanted to earn the Mazzalo token and then transfer that to XCT or some way there, there's not really a use case there for me, because obviously I don't know the language of the videos and the movies, and the content's not mine. So I'm not going to be able to really enjoy it and use it. But that does not really matter when you look at the scope and the size of the market that they're trying to get. So it doesn't really matter. It's hard. I will say, and you did ask the question, it's hard for someone, or no, I think Sarah asked the question. It's hard for someone who's in America maybe to actually put their brain around, that market in India and just the surrounding area in Asia and stuff like that. But it's big, and so, even though it's tough to understand, it's nonetheless, I'm excited for XCT in their future, especially when you see things like Steppen, that was a whole cryptocurrency where you could buy these shoes, NFT shoes, and you go walking and you earn a crypto just for exercising. I mean, we saw that kind of just with how Pokemon Go a few years back just got everyone outside doing stuff. So like, it's this, this rewarding of things you're already doing. So I am bullish on it. I hope, hope token price reflects, their vision and their goal as they continue to grow. But that was kind of what I pulled from it.
Yeah, and to your point too about it being mostly India based. And it being hard to kind of grasp because, you're not in that market, you're not viewing that content. I kind of see it very similar to some of these SNFTs from Opulus, where, I might not be interested in the artist, I might not be interested in the music they're putting out, but I could still see it being a good business investment, depending on the artist. They might be, really great in the charts, a lot of people listening to their songs. It might not be my cup of tea, but I could still see the financial benefit of it. So I feel the same or similar way about XET or X-Finite, because yes, their market is essentially Bollywood or India's Hollywood, but they do plan on expanding. But that market's huge. I mean, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not going to be watching the content, but I can recognize that there are over 1 billion people in India. They've just passed favorable crypto regulations, and they do plan to expand outside of India as well, but that is their bread and butter.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of marketing. I mean, I know we all got really excited about seeing Algorand's name all over Times Square. I remember last year when X-Finite was just launching and everything, and they launched the Mazzalo app and all the other stuff, like they had their logo and name and everything on the Burj Khalifa. Like it was a huge show one night where it was flashing and it was doing their own thing. So, like I said, it's hard sometimes as a US based investor to really trust and get into some of these projects that are not really in your locality and maybe something that's out of your sphere, but it's still nonetheless, it can be a great, it could be a great investment,
I mean,
depending on how it pans out.
It's one of the bigger projects on Algorand currently that a lot of people overlook, I think, for that very reason, because a lot of us are in the U.S. But if you look into it, Mazzalo had help from Microsoft as a startup. Their platform itself has millions of users. They are partnered with Eros, which is like kind of Indian-based entertainment company, and just on YouTube alone, between Eros and Mazzalo, they have probably like 8 to 10 million subscribers just on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're not they're certainly no small fish for sure.
Yeah.
And they do have the first that I've seen, the watch to earn model on there,
Yep.
where you can earn coins for just participating. So, and as y'all pointed out, India's market is huge, and just because we don't have the understanding of that market doesn't mean that it is not a market out there. So I agree with all the points y'all made. Shout out to them.
Yeah, and shout out to the Hulk tuning in, saying he bought his first house on Lofty AI. Lofty AI is a fantastic
Congrats.
property. Congrats on being a landlord and collecting that rent.
Let's talk
Moving.
about NBC with the Lofty.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. So Lofty AI was hosted on NBC. I don't know if it was an article or a video. I think it was just an article. But of course, that's one of the biggest media outlets out there. So really getting that awareness, spreading that awareness about Lofty and Algorand is super key, and rightfully deserved, because in my opinion, they are probably the best app on Algorand currently.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think one of the cool things from it too is the fact that, even you were having a discourse with some people on Twitter about it, but just the idea that, on-chain network and transactions and things like that, I'm pretty sure all of Lofty's properties are on-chain, on the main chain. And so as Lofty grows, that's good for, Algorand as a whole as well, with its network activity, which is
yeah.
huge.
And when you think of adoption, some people I'm sure will come to Algorand just for the Lofty portion of it, which also requires them to participate and get them a wallet. And
Yeah.
shout out to the Hulk again. I bought another property last night and on
Yeah.
Lofty. So I'm on my, I think, fifth or sixth property there. And yes, crypto boom opens door to new class of landlords. Yes, so we're all landlords in per se, and as group investors, Lofty is blowing up, and
Yeah.
I can't see too much competition right now. I know Pocket Properties are going to be on my show soon, but they're out of East Coast, kind of doing a similar thing. Have y'all seen anything similar else to Lofty?
Proppy Inc. I feel like
Pocket Properties, or are you talking about
yeah,
different?
it's Proppy Inc. is something that Michael Arrington is kind of really behind and pushing. And I think they're based out of California. I don't think they do as much of like you personally investing in a property and earning royalties, but they are putting homes and selling of homes on the blockchain.
Or
So
like Vesta Equity, right?
that one's about home equity and getting the equity out of your own home so you can tokenize your own property and then list it for sale and then use that money. So that's another, yeah. I mean, there's definitely multiple options. And obviously, we are so early that 5 years from now, like, JT put a post out just showing how big the global housing market is. It was like 326 trillion.
It's
Oh, it's huge.
huge. Yep.
Yeah. Like imagine
There's
that
no more
all of that
land in the
market,
world.
and then you can put that on, and it's not all going to go on Algorand, just like Silvio and many of the people who are in the blockchain space. It's going to be a multi-chain future, but it's going to be really fun and interesting to see once this, really starts to pick up steam and the big players get in. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of big money out there.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Hulk says he's in Ireland. I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's actually really funny. Hulk joined a Twitter space once that I was
Yeah.
in, and he decided to speak, and everyone was
Oh,
kind
wow.
of blown away that with his Irish accent. We were just, expecting this Hulkamania type conversation to happen, but
That's funny as hell.
but to the point of the real estate market being absolutely gigantic. I mean, just 1% of the real estate market would be over $3 trillion. Like, could you imagine Algorand bringing 1% of the real estate market on chain? Like, that'd be kind of crazy.
Wow.
I mean, Lofty AI is already working at it. They've got about 17 million on chain. Let's see, 271,000 tokens, $311,000 returned to investors in passive daily rental income.
Hey,
So that
let's give a little love real quick. We get paid every day, y'all. If you are not on Lofty, tap in. This is not financial advice, but yes, that's why those numbers are changing, is because my tokens are coming.
Yep. Yeah, this is a real time feed.
Real time. But
Yeah,
go
it's
ahead,
really
JT.
the Algorand DeFi space is absolutely amazing. Like, as you said, we get paid every day with Lofty AI. I mean, if you're staking on AlgoFi, you get paid every day. Really, you get paid in real time. You can claim your rewards after an hour. But on Tinyman, you get paid every week for your farming. On PactFi, I believe it's every day. There's with governance, you get paid every quarter. So
Yeah,
there's
it's a
there's
lot
a
of
lot of
ways
ways
to
to be
pay.
making your passive income for sure.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's my favorite. So it's like with Lofty again, I see that as like, stable coins, Lofty, the easiest, ways to get paid with the less risk.
Hmm.
And then you get that exposure to real estate. You can cash out in stable, go stake it for 6% on AlgoFi. There's like so many things you can do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's actually a really good point. I mean, I've been often taking out some of my rental income as USDC because that supply rate was absolutely through the roof the other day. I think it was at like 10%. The borrow
Yep.
rate was at like 15%. So, hey, take advantage. I mean, take out your rental income that you're earning on a property. You're earning like 7% rental income on some of these properties. Take that out as USDC, supply it to AlgoFi, and sometimes you're earning, another 7 to 10%, or take it out as stable or Algorand and stake it, farm it.
Yep.
I mean, you really earn compound on your rewards. Of course, not financial
And
advice, but
imagine if, and I know JT, you're one of the biggest proponents trying to push this through, but imagine if we can get a pairing between AlgoFi and Lofty and be able to stake those tokens to then
Woo!
obviously not only maybe earn a yield, but even if you're not earning a yield, even staking that value on AlgoFi then lets you, be able to leverage what you have there in those tokens to then go
Wow.
do other things in DeFi.
oh
Hey,
Huge.
man.
shout out to the Joker, passive income, passive income. I'm gonna think that's a passive income reference. My song. Check out Ballad of Passive Income.
Yeah, and just to really reiterate your point, I mean, I really couldn't agree more. I can't wait for the day. It'll probably be AlgoFi just because they already have that connection with Stable, but I'm hoping it's more than just AlgoFi, but I really can't wait for the day that, Lofty AI integrates with all of these lending platforms. And I know there's a lot of regulation that goes into it, and that's part of the reason why it's slow to happen, but everybody wants it to happen, including the builders working on all those teams. So this
What's
isn't
what's
this isn't
cool,
just a hope from the community. They are trying to make it happen.
Yep.
and they're both in the I believe Y Combinator, so it was an
Hmm.
easy deal for them to make because they have the same funders and investors, so they're in the same circle. Those two are definitely the powerhouses of Algorand.
So, what do you guys think
So,
of my interview with Paul Regal? I mean, for those that don't know that are tuning in, I just hosted the chief product officer of Algorand on my show just about an hour or two ago, and it was a fantastic interview. And I know you guys watched it. So, what did you guys think?
I didn't catch it till about the last 10 minutes.
Nah,
So from what, yeah, I was a little, the timing
sleep,
sometime with me,
sleeping.
yeah, with over here, I couldn't sleep well.
I can say this as far as like, and I'll even go into one of the points that I was going to make and you get your all's reaction as well. One thing that not only Paul Regal said, but also Silvio McCauley said in the interview with Lex Friedman, which he did, that interview with Lex Friedman was done last year around September. So obviously different timestamp, but when listening to Silvio and Paul talk about node operators, right, and being rewarded, and if that should be a thing, right, because that's been something that I've kind of thought about with just looking at getting a node going and all those things. And in the interview with Silvio and Lex, he kind of says, well, if without with choosing not, I guess, to reward those node runners, they believe that they'll inherently bring more honest people to the network. Because in Paul Regal said in your interview that he sees it as if you believe in the network and you believe in what Algorand is, you shouldn't be rewarded for it, but it's your civic duty and it's your job to want to secure the network and want to make it grow. And I feel like when I heard Silvio say something similar along the lines of like, just how he believes that this strategy will bring honest people. Whereas when you have these more centralized node runners where a certain pool gets to verify the next block just because of their stake, or a centralized pool gets to verify the next block because they can solve this cryptographic puzzle easier than someone else because they have the better equipment. You can start to see how dishonest people can come into that area easier because they know the reward is there to be taken. And that's where I think you see ETH, where a small select percentage of the big pools are the ones who normally are winning it. I think Silvio said like 21 or something, and obviously even with Bitcoin, you have like 3 that are winning a lot of the times, I guess you could say. And so it's easier to be corrupt and easier to have dishonest people come into a space where they're rewarded in money. Because I mean, we hear everybody say money's the root of all evil and power and all this stuff, and it's kind of true. But like, if you have something like Algorand, a pure proof of stake, where every single algo, all 10 billion, when it's going to find 1,000, people who are going to propagate the next block, they're all pulling that lever at the same time and getting their ticket. Like, it really does decentralize it. And then when you think about the nodes and those not being rewarded in a money, in a financial way, it does really say that if you're going to run a node, like, you really do care about Algorand. You're not just in it for the money and in for the monetary value of, I'm just trying to make money, like you see in some of these other hype influencers, pumping that they themselves are the validators of Ethereum or the miners of Bitcoin, and they slam all these other ones.
I do have a question. So there's two type of nodes. Which node did you set up, and then can you show
Yeah,
a little?
so when Paul said that there's only 100 and something relay nodes, I didn't set up a relay node. Then I guarantee you, I set up a participation node.
Participation, yes.
But even then, like, and I'm still learning. Like, this is like with what I did on the developer website, and I followed all the key prompts and commands. Like, I know my node is active, and obviously I turned it off. Like, you can turn it on and off pretty simple, and it was showing the most accurate block. But then I go on to read that, like, to actually, I guess for it to actually be a relay node, you have to get the participation key. And even Paul talked a little bit about the next step further with the state proofs. You'll get a Falcon key with that participation key, and that's how state proofs will kind of be done. So yeah, I don't think I have a exact relay node. I think I'm more along the lines of like the participation node, just kind of adding to the bandwidth, I guess,
it seems like one node actually helps to like put new information on, and I believe the one that you have helps to spread the information.
Yeah,
so there's two
I think it secures the network
nodes.
and helps it to become more decentralized, so it doesn't have like one point of failure or a centralized point of failure. And so, and like I said, if anyone who's watching this has not went on to watch that Lex Friedman, Silvio McCauley interview, like, I'm going to post it on social media at some point, but definitely go check it out. Like, Lex, I'd never even really watched any of his interviews, although I'd seen his face pop up on YouTube, but he's very calm, and like he's very smart as well. And his questions he asks are very intuitive, and also the interview has some philosophical stuff to it, which I love that side of just the whole area. But going back, I was interested, what are your all's thoughts on that point about, because we've kind of talked about this in past shows about why Algorand is so different when it comes to its consensus and its node operating and its reward system with participating on the network.
Yeah, I'll start shortly. I want to say shout out to Bilal over there too in the comments. Well, I'm seeing like the difference of what Silvio even brought up is that pure proof of stake is exactly what David described. It's pure, the 1,000 people, it rotates. But the other version of proof of stake is what Ethereum and a lot of other blockchains do, that you have to then take your coins and send to a validator. So then that validator, the person running the node per se, like David, will collect all of our coins, and then that person will help participate on the block. So it does causes some type of centralization between all of the validators, and then all the people who can't do their own validators, we have to delegate. And that's one issue that Algorand doesn't have. That's my quick insight on that one.
Yeah, and plus to your point, it creates a security flaw because an attacker knows who the validators are beforehand, or at least who most of them are, whereas Algorand, everything happens so quickly and so randomized that by the time you know who the validator is, it's already on to the next block. It's too late, But to your point, David, I was actually really, really happy with Paul's answers to those node-related questions and the upgrades to 10,000 TPS and 46,000 TPS, because part of the concern was that with these upgrades, you might need to get advanced hardware to run the node in order to do these upgrades. And he reassured me that the upgrade to 10,000 TPS will not require any upgraded hardware, and you could still run it just as cheaply. And he did say the 46K one would likely require a little bit more energy, but he did reaffirm that you'd still be able to run it on a laptop or any other normal device, which is really amazing because when you think about it, it costs like $50,000 to $70,000 a year to run a Solana node. It's very expensive
That's
to run one
crazy.
of the it's insanely expensive. So that's part of the reason why a lot of people say it's a relatively centralized chain, because it's unaffordable for many people to even set one up and then pay for the yearly cost of running it. So it's certainly a key factor for Algorand's success will be the low energy, the low bandwidth it needs to run a scalable blockchain.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, when I saw Paul Regal give that answer and obviously bouncing it off Silvio McCauley's answer to Lex Friedman's questions, it kind of goes back to the whole point why when I found Algorand, I didn't really. I mean, I learned more about other layer one blockchains, especially those Algorand is competing against in the hot market that we're in. But I feel like that's why I've grown such a conviction from a fundamental standpoint of just getting behind Algorand as a movement, because and not really worrying too much about the price. Obviously, I love talking price. The price is the fun part. It's the hopium of you're buying in the next thing that's going to make a generational wealth and maybe bring financial freedom to people. But at the base layer, even as we're talking about Lofty and different things like that, Algorand actually gives the ability for anyone, anywhere, as long as you have the internet connection and you open up an Algo wallet, you can participate in the network, you can be a part of it, and you don't have to have some crazy expensive computer. You don't have to have a crazy significant amount of money in the case of Solana or Ethereum, and you can still be a part of this future of DeFi, which if we're looking at what Ethereum was going to be, Algorand is what it is, what it
Yes.
wants to be now.
Yes. And when we talk about Solana, downtime is always a problem, and congestion. Algorand, I haven't experienced any congestion or downtime. The worst thing that I have experienced is like what we all experience with like a tiny man hack. And that has nothing to do with the blockchain per se as a whole.
Yep.
It just has to do with where the contract was set up on top of a blockchain.
Yep.
And it brings me to a point with in JT, your last video with Paul, someone brought up how like most of the applications seem to be centralized. And I've noticed that it's like the open source software is open source, but you do need to have some type of a CEO, a team, or somebody that is centralized to help build the application and get it out there. So that part was brought up, and I thought that was very interesting
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah, I really don't have too much to add. You guys really said it really well. If you want, we can discuss price a little bit, but I don't want to go too far into the weeds. But I will just bring up this chart right here just to give everybody kind of some awareness onto why the market has been red lately. And this is the dollar index. This is the US dollar index, and it's just been on a tear, honestly. Every time I think, because it's been hitting the top of this support, resistance, every time I think it's going to come back down, it just pops up with another giant green candle. So,
JT, can you break down the dollar index again one more time?
Yeah, the dollar index is basically the value of the dollar compared against a basket of about 6 or 7 global currencies. And really
we got the yen, we got the franc, we got the British pound, we got the euro, and the Chinese yuan.
I'm not sure if China's in it, actually. I don't think China's currency is in it, which is interesting. But yeah, it's up like 14% against that basket of currencies over the last year, and that's part of the reason why crypto struggled over the last year. When you overlay these charts, you kind of end up seeing that a bet on crypto is an inverse bet against on the dollar. So you're basically betting against the dollar when you're betting on crypto currently, and currently the dollar's unfortunately for our bags, it is winning.
So this is when right now I'm seeing buy your crypto, but buy cash as well then, because the dollar's going up.
Yeah, and I got to reiterate, because whenever I make this point, people argue with me as if I'm saying I enjoy the fact that this is the reality. I'm not saying the dollar should be strong or that there's valid reasons for it to be strong. I'm just saying the clear and present reality that on a global stage, international economies are still seeking to hold the dollar more so than other currencies, which is giving it buying power on the global stage, which is causing its value to increase. And that's really what it comes down to. We might be experiencing inflation here in the United States, but we're not alone. And all across the globe, countries are experiencing worse inflation, and their currency is performing worse than ours, so they are often switching their currencies into dollars, which is propping up our dollar. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be a certain way. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I was watching another video from the Bitcoin conference. I'm slowly catching up to all of them, but exactly to your point that the dollar and or Bitcoin is still preferred because you got countries like North Korea. They need our dollar, as in like if you want to be more free. Togo was one of the speakers from Togo, and they had another speaker from Palestine, and they were talking about all the problems they're dealing with. We're dealing with the I believe the franc, also trying to escape to China, and all the things that happens where it comes down to Bitcoin is another option of freedom and or the dollar, because the dollar does, as JT broke down, still has the value.
Yep, and we've got the Hulk asking, and this is a great question, but it's how is it possible that the dollar is going up so much when inflation is so high? And even though that is the case, I mean, we look back in historical context, this giant run up right here was back in the 80s when we had inflation just as bad, if not worse, than we're having right now. Actually, the dollar peaked and it's never reached this value again during the highest inflation we've had in the last 50 years. So it is true that the dollar can still be strong whether we're experiencing inflation or not. And it's for those reasons I laid out before, because yes, to us in our bubble, it might seem like the dollar is weak because inflation is hitting us hard here at home. But abroad, the dollar is still seen as stronger than other currencies that are experiencing much worse inflation. And so that's what's propping up its value on the global stage. So it is true that our buying power is less with it, but it's also true that on a global stage, it's still a reserve currency and it still has value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any other money I would want personally, like other than a dollar or some crypto.
Yeah, other than crypto, I mean, I do agree.
Yeah.
So
you buy some euros.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
When you guys woke up this morning and saw the and JT, I kind of want to ask you, just since we're kind of looking at some technical analysis of this, and I don't talk a lot of technical analysis on my channel. I think a lot of it's pie in the sky and people just drawing crazy lines and trying to predict what they don't know. But I woke up, I saw Algo at 66 cents. I was like, let's see what is going to happen. So I got up. It was like 7 a.m. And obviously it wicked down to like 65 cents something. I actually bought, it was, I was expecting it to be a flash, drop down and, hard to really be able to buy. But thankfully I was awake. It didn't happen at 3 a.m. But I bought, a little bit of Algo there at 65 cents. And now we are back above 68. We were, I think, as high as like 69 cents. Oh no, we're at 69 cents. So we're at 69 cents, right? And if the daily close of the candle stays above 67 cents, do you see that as bullish, bearish? What does then going below 67 cents even really matter from a technical analysis standpoint, since you're better at it than me?
I will say that I did buy some. So I mean, I'm not afraid of it crashing. I do have a sneaking suspicion that it will hold this line, but this is basically what you're talking about right here. And if it, like you said, if it closes around 69 cents, then you'll have this nice, I don't know, it's hard to see on the screen. Let's see. You'll have this nice long wick that you were talking about. And that is typically a good sign. As you can see here, last time we've had a long wick, and like long wicks, it usually resorts to a bump. And then you see long wicks in the top, which means people are selling. So it's a good sign. It's too hard. You can't just base a decision just off of that. But I will say, yeah, like I said, I did buy, and I'm totally comfortable with that decision.
Yep.
Yep.
Bullish.
So, yep, super bullish. I mean, honestly, maybe not for the next couple months, but I still think it's going to be a tough year. I think it's going to be. Go for it.
Okay. Moving on, I guess, to the next point, and still kind of tying into your Paul Regal interview. I loved it, by the way. If anybody in the chat has not watched it, make sure to go check out JT's interview with Paul Regal. He just finished it up. He also mentioned, and this is something that I see, you see, I think all of us see. There's people on Twitter. And they're, I'm not going to call them fudders. They may ask legitimate questions about, what certain things are going on. You ask them the question about co-chains and is all this, is transactions and is traffic really just going all these co-chains and nothing's really happening on the main chain. And Algorand doesn't care about the main chain. And obviously he kind of he obviously Paul knows, like he's kind of follows the stuff. He
Yeah,
doesn't post about it.
yeah.
But here's my thought process on it. Like I say, I am way more fundamental than technical analysis and whatnot like that, especially so early on.
Oh, the
Even when
fun.
you look like
We should be clear before you finish your point. The fundamentals are the most important.
yeah,
And I like technical analysis, but I would not be looking at a chart of something where I didn't think the fundamentals were good.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I do Yeah, and I do realize that some of the FUD that or correction and people questioning has come around, the network activity, especially in the short term. Algorand, maybe it's network activity going down a little bit, but like I guess from my standpoint, I see guys like Paul, Silvio, Sean Ford, and Kelly, and the whole team behind Algorand, like it's a tech company, right? I mean, Algorand itself is the blockchain, right? It's the open source, blockchain that people can build upon. Algorand Inc. is the tech team, and these
It's
guys are
coming.
the ones building this future. And it's a battle of tech, and so it's like it's so early though that like I feel like we're being too maybe judgmental is not the word, but like, we're holding them to such a high standard that like you can't mess up. And like when I go back and even hear Silvio talk about, certain things and him say, that you have to be able to, bend and, adapt with the blockchain future as it's growing. And I feel like Algorand is doing that. Like,
yeah.
yes, they may have targets and things in which they want to hit, and maybe those didn't get hit, but like I feel like that's with everything. Deadlines aren't always going to get hit, and so I feel like with Paul Regal and that point he made, it made me more bullish just to know that like we just need to trust, right? Fundamentally, that we have, and I really do believe this, that Algorand has the best team behind it. I've looked at so many of the other teams in the crypto space, and hands down, I just don't think there's anybody else out there behind a layer one project right now that has the level of, I don't really know what the word I want to use to describe it, but just the level of sophistication, the level of just smart people building, for this decentralized future.
And I want to add too, they have the right regulation stuff on board. I think we talked about this last week, but they got the regulators are more in favor with them
Yep.
as well. So there's a lot there, and I agree with you, David. Algorand, the tech wise, team wise, is number one. Only thing that people are actually mad at, we can all agree, is that Algorand didn't moon. That's it, and that's not a good thing. The only thing that I care about with this space.
Like,
Yeah,
could you
I mean,
imagine?
it's an important part. It is. I mean, we do have to recognize that it's certainly an important part, but I do have a complete understanding that they also recognize it's an important part. A lot of players in the Inc. and Foundation can't legally actually talk about price action,
Nope.
but they can do all they can do to build the activity necessary on the main chain. And one of the things that Paul Regal said that I'm really excited about is the timeline for that 10K TPS upgrade, which will be hopefully by the end of Q2, if not by July, the latest, which will be super exciting. And even though we're not near that our current limit, I mean, we saw how Solana was able to market their inflated but heavy, tens of thousands of TPS. It's going to be great for us to have the ability to market the fact that we can do 10K plus TPS and have it be a true TPS with 2.5-second finality on the smart contracts, on the regular transactions.
And not crash.
What is
Yeah.
Visa right now? Is it 45,000 per second?
It's up to 45, but if you actually look at the numbers, they don't usually hit their limit. They're usually like halfway on their limit, but I think they can do like 45,000.
So the goal, I would see is to be able to compete with Visa and MasterCard because they're the ones
Yep.
that mostly everyone uses. So
Yep.
if you can compete with Visa, you're in a good position.
And he said that the 46K upgrade would basically come whenever they see that they needed it. So once they implement the 10K, if all of a sudden on the main chain we have huge businesses that come because they might need a good amount of TPS, and all of a sudden the TPS is being used and we're at like 8,000, 9,000 regularly, then they would certainly be implementing that 46K. But that's not going to, if we're still ranging around 100, 200 TPS or even less, that's not going to be top priority for them. They're going to work on getting out state proofs and interoperability and things like that. But if it does become something where they need to, he's like, yep, that's on the back burner. We will switch it to 46K when we see that we need to.
So, question: I didn't catch this part. If this got mentioned in your video with Paul, like, so who, or is it Algorand Inc. or is it Algorand Foundation that is like executing the protocol or upgrading the transaction? Like, which
Okay,
party?
this is actually a big thing because Algorand Inc. basically proposes changes and upgrades and whatnot, but they can't just like make it happen. So these upgrades get proposed to all the validators, the people running nodes, and essentially, if it's accepted by the node runners and the validators, then that upgrade takes place. So in theory, validators could say no to an upgrade. I
So,
mean,
so
I'm
it
not
is
sure.
like how Bitcoin does. You got to talk to everybody and make sure we're all in consensus and agree.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
one thing I wonder is, and this is a part where I've sometimes wondered, is this a centralized aspect to Algorand? Because he even said there's only like 120 something
Not
relay
that much.
nodes, and from my understanding, you have to almost get permission from them to even run a node, right? Like, isn't it like, how does that like?
I've been told that anyone can run a relay node. It's just I cannot. We have to have somebody on the show sometime to be able to parse it out for us because
Yeah,
I don't want to say something that I don't know. I'm
I'll
not
make
technical
sure,
enough, but I have been told that anyone could do it.
Yeah,
yeah,
because if
the
it's
other
open
YouTuber-
source, it's supposed to be anyone that can do it, and that
Yeah.
would make the most sense to me.
Yeah,
And that's why
that's
it's
what I'm
like
told.
Algorand and all these decentralized protocols really can't be shut down, even if the foundation goes away, because it's now active.
Right. So then it makes me wonder though, why do we only have 129 relay nodes, but then up to 2,000 participation nodes? And I will say,
I'd have to assume it's probably just easier to set up a participation node. I mean, I don't.
Maybe you just did
that's
it,
what I
right?
set up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say for certain because I've never done either. You've only done one, so we can't really speak on how difficult it is for a relay node. But I do believe anybody can do it. It's I'm just probably under the assumption it's a little bit more of a task. We should ask Joker saying we should ask Market Maker. We should have him on the show sometime.
Who is Market Maker?
He's another YouTuber in the space, and
Yeah.
he's done a couple behind the NFT series type things, and
He's great. He's great
quite a
too.
few
So
Twitter Spaces as well. He holds quite a few. So
Okay.
yeah, he's a super nice guy. So happy to have him on the show. Hopefully we can do that sometime. What else you guys seeing out there? I mean, I know we
Crypto Bahamas FTX. Let's talk about it.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yes, you got the SALT conference that starts tomorrow, which
okay.
is down in the Bahamas. Obviously, you're going to have, we talked about it a little bit on Thursdays, but you're going to have tons and tons of people from every big major layer one blockchain to just projects and developers and all that kind of stuff. Plus, you're going to have influential people from sports, Tom Brady, to fund managers, Scaramucci. Obviously, he's a big. I think he may have even started the SALT conference. I'm not 100% sure, but I know he's a big. Yeah, I know he's a big proponent of it. Silvio will be speaking. I believe it's the 27th, so I think it's Wednesday. He'll be on stage with Near, Protocol, Avalanche, and Solana. Which it was really funny because right before we talked last Thursday, I was mentioning on Twitter when's FTX going to list Algo?
Yeah, you
and
did.
I feel like that's a really big shout out to Kelly. Shout out to I don't know if Kelly was the one who did it. I'm just thinking about marketing and stuff, but the marketing team or whoever put that deal together to get us listed.
That's not the right one.
Yeah, because you got to pay a bag to get listed on these exchanges.
Yeah.
But I was always curious about what that bag costs. You said what, David?
I was just saying, I mean, FTX is going to be, I think, one of the very big centralized exchanges, even for American investors and stuff. I mean, I will say this, the FTX US, because I did create an account yesterday, or no, it was the day before. I created an account with FTX, and it's a little different in the fact that if you're not in the US, you actually have access to more cryptos and the ability to buy them. Whereas if you're in the US, they do limit you to only, I think, 30 right now, I think is what they have. So it's not a massive list. I think maybe Coinbase even has more, but I'm still bullish on there being another alternative to for US investors to get into crypto outside of just Coinbase or even crypto.com and stuff like that. And FTX also, they sponsor the Miami Heat Arena, like they're big in Miami. So
and they sponsor a lot of crypto YouTubers and financial YouTubers and stuff. So they're good about spreading their money around. I will say if they add USDC for Algorand, I'll drop Coinbase immediately.
Oh, me too, 100%.
They also have the ability to have your own card. Like you can get your FTX card, just like you get a Coinbase card. You'd be able to use your crypto and earn rewards. I'm still learning their platform a little bit, but yeah, I'm super bullish on FTX. Seeing that news of Algo getting listed on the 26th is really exciting, as well as BTC Turk Exchange is listing on the 27th Algo. So I haven't done tons of research, but Damian Brown, shout out to him for
At the
finding
Damon.
that post. I didn't see it, but he posted it. And I'm guessing it's a Turkish exchange, but they are listing Algo. So, maybe this is part of, I'm sure, since we heard Stacey Warden and Kelly say that, the Times Square thing was just the start of the marketing. This, I'm sure, is just another step along the path of getting Algo more exposed and out there to more investors.
Hey, question to y'all. Hey, Algo. Question to y'all, man. What happened? This is a side tangent. What happened to Algo Dex? Is it still around?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's still around. I mean, they just still
No one talks about it.
well, unfortunately, they don't have much liquidity because people in the United States and Canada can't use it. So currently, they just don't have a lot of liquidity. They are working on fixing that, whether it's through like liquidity bots or what have you. And they're also working on integrating U.S. and Canadian citizens.
It's just interesting. I just had to throw that out. Maybe
No, I actually reached out just to see if they had any sort of like TVL because I was curious, but they don't really have anything significant enough to report.
Okay, good.
But to your point about advertising and marketing and whatnot, when I was at Times Square, I ran into Stacy, as many people know. I ran into Kelly, ran into Crypto Nerd.
I was literally going to say you ran into her, Matt. No.
Yeah, she ran into you. Shout out to Stacy.
But she did say to me that, as you said, David, it is the beginning of marketing season. That wasn't just like a one-off rift, or what we're seeing now isn't just like a week's worth of marketing. I predict the rest of 2022 is going to be a full throttle year for Algorand, at least in the marketing sense. I mean, price-wise, again, we might be able to pull some people from other chains, but I don't see new money coming into the space until the macro headwinds subside. So people really have to be patient until there's, better news on the macro conditions for the market to turn around. But that said, there is still that possibility that we could siphon money from other chains. I wouldn't, I don't want to bet, I don't want to be certain of it and tell you guys to invest your money any certain way. But
if you think about, like, I think Lofty, again, as we talked about this earlier in the show, is the play for mass adoption. Like, for sure, that's a thing that Algorand Foundation should focus on, getting that thing attention.
Projects like that, yeah.
Yes, it just makes so much sense.
I personally know many, many people that have no real interest in cryptocurrency that are interested in Lofty AI and have even set up accounts that would have never had an Algorand wallet if it weren't for something like Lofty AI.
Exactly.
So it is
Opolis got to get it together sooner than later, because that's the same play I see, is that Lofty and Opolis it could change everything.
We have mentioned this so many times, and obviously this will be something that people will look back and say, oh, we were lucky. Like, no, we're just doing our research and we're finding these things out. But we've mentioned it many times that, like, in 5-10 years from now, how many people are going to be using, because you can use Lofty AI, buy it with cash from your bank account and get the cash or the payouts sent to, it doesn't have to be sent to a wallet, crypto wallet, right? It can just, it can just be sent straight back to your bank account.
Yeah, you can ACH it back to your bank.
Yeah, but you need the wallet for the tokens, though.
Right.
Yeah. So
that is true, but still, it's like, with as little as user interface and as little as that would be needed, people will be using the blockchain without maybe even really knowing they're using a blockchain, and they're
100%
growing of a network, especially as the user interface and all this stuff even gets more easier on apps and smartwatches and all those things. I mean,
remember where Lofty started, it wasn't as clean as an interface either.
No, it's grown a lot.
Yeah, same with the Para wallet. It's getting better.
And we've made this point before in prior episodes that blockchain technology to us is very interesting, but on the outside, in the future, hopefully the short future, nobody's really going to be talking about blockchain. They're going to be talking about the applications and the ecosystems that are built on top of them. Just like nobody's talking about the internet and Web 2. We're talking about all the
www.
Exactly. We're talking about all the applications that run on the internet. We're talking about YouTube or Twitter or some news site or whatever gaming platform you're using on the internet. We're not talking about the infrastructure anymore, and that will be a very similar progression for blockchain, where the infrastructure talk becomes less and less sexy, which really it isn't that sexy anyway, and there's more conversation about this brand new killer app that we're all jumping into or using every day.
All right.
And then all they're going to say, hey, you just need to download this app to go use it. And it's that simple.
Yeah. All right. So here, guys, this is something I went to just kind of have a little fun talk here for a second. I went to Disney for the first time yesterday. I was checked out from all things Algo, but spent some time with my nephew, two nephews, and some, my wife's sister, and it was really fun and cool as far as just getting to experience it. Right. Obviously, I'm 29, so it took me a while to get there. But we went to Animal Kingdom, which some people would say isn't the most fun park, I guess, to go to. But I will say this: I went to the Avatar ride. Right.
The Avatar ride's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I went to and we did the Avatar ride. The one thing I wish I wore my prescription glasses underneath the little glasses they give you, because I couldn't see it as well, but I could still still hella dope. And so when I literally walking out of that, the only thing I could think of was, in 5 years from now, 6 years, however long it takes for the metaverse and its augmented reality, virtual reality to take over. Imagine not even the worlds that'll be created, but the communities in these worlds that will grow and become. And I've even put this question on my Twitter to see, people's thoughts, but like NFT communities and, crypto communities that are, that will rival social media platforms, that like Facebook and stuff like that will go away. And instead, we look at ApeCoin, right? This ape, the apes and the board apes and all this stuff that is just rocketing, that even though everything else is down today, board apes is still up like 8%. And like just the whole idea of like being submersed in this new world and whatnot, and how those could be such a massive catalyst for crypto and digital business and all the stuff that we talk about, mass adoption. Like, I don't know, riding that ride just made me super excited.
Yeah, and I will say that was probably the best ride at Disney, because I recently went with my nieces, and it was a good. Well, maybe not recently; it was like 4 months ago. But did you guys check out the Algorand metaverse at I believe Spaces or whatever it is, Spaces IO or whatever was hosting?
I wasn't up at 4 a.m. I still also don't know if
X
there's a
Spaces.
link that I
There it
can
is.
go and rewatch it. But if there is, I'd like to know it.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't get up for it. I registered for it, but I did not get up for it. But
I registered and I couldn't stay up for it.
yep, Michael Jordan's posts make it look really cool, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and it's like, and I even get like, I've used Decentraland, right? I've been in that. I've seen what that looks like, but it's a whole nother thing to be that. And then what, kind of like what Disney has with the Avatar ride, right? I mean,
Oh, for sure. But they've got a
know,
lot of money.
you're riding that ride, and it literally dives through and goes into like a wooded area, like a really dense wooded, field. And you start to smell, of course, you got these goggles on, but you start to smell, wood. And then if it splashes near water, you would feel the mist. And I get it that that's just the things built into the machine. But like, you also have to think that there's going to become a time where, you're going to be, to go into the metaverse, you may be on a treadmill, a circular treadmill that you can move anywhere, have your headset on.
Bro, they got those. They got
right, but
yeah.
I mean more for a mass retail. Like right now, you got to be pretty rich or exclusive to probably get that access. But
you're talking about Ready Player One, bro.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and just imagine like what worlds and what economies. I mean, we're talking about how Algorand could power our economy and the future of finance as we see it. But then you got to look and you got to think past our world and think how Algorand could power and be used for the digital verse and the metaverse and all this omniverse, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just it blows my mind. We're so early.
I took a workshop a few years ago that has to do with basically AR, VR type stuff. And like they're using augmented reality, like you say, with the real world, or I guess the environment effects, right? Where you can basically trick your mind into like someone with broken legs. They were helping them learn how to re-walk by using the VR and all that. So when they look down, they see their legs actually walking while they're trying to retrain.
Yeah.
And things of that nature is all gonna get integrated in with the blockchain eventually.
Yeah.
So
I hope I live long enough to really experience the virtual reality future. I mean, I'm sure it'll be.
I don't think we're gonna be there yet.
Do what?
I don't think we'll. I don't think. I don't know. I don't think all that stuff is coming as fast as we
Really?
think.
I mean, think of this. I rode that ride right next to my nephew's grandfather,
Really? Mhm.
and he was blown away getting off that ride. Like to him, like it was just crazy. And like I talked to him for a few minutes about that ride and just about his time. It's like I don't know. You look at my dad; he wouldn't understand and believe that we would have been where we're at today as fast as we
Yeah.
are. And with the internet and how fast it's adopted, I do think so. I mean, obviously, hopefully, as long as I live to like be 80 or something, I'm sure I will. But if I die at 40, I mean, probably not. But let's just hope for a long life, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And they're finding ways that you can save your avatar in these metaverses. So when you die, it'll just remember all the things you used to say and talk about, and it'll just act like you while
It's
Oh,
you're.
kind of scary.
so let me.
It's kind of terrifying.
You guys said that it's already a thing. I obviously for the most part live my life in Kentucky, which is if tech and all the stuff that's flashy and fancy in the world doesn't reach us for like 10 years. Like y'all are doing it in California, New York, and the big cities
Yeah.
are doing it way before Kentucky was. Now,
Oh,
obviously,
yeah.
living in Tampa or just outside of Tampa, I do feel a little bit more in tune with advancements in technology. Where you guys live is where are these places where you can fully experience like virtual reality and stuff? Are there any around you guys?
Well,
They're
my
pro-
thing is special because I be working in like these industries, so I would get little plugs, but I haven't seen anything
Yeah,
in
because I've
Portland.
seen videos of
Yeah.
people like on social media, like literally strapped to a machine and like running with a gun, and
Yeah,
they got the whole thing
I've
set
seen
up. Like,
those.
I'd love to go test it out. I mean, I'd probably be scared, especially if it's like a scary horror game or something. But that stuff just gets me excited.
Yeah, me too. Like I'm with all of that. Playing some Call of Duty or something with one of those battle suits, I would totally do it. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything. I
Yeah,
knew they got
what I
this
use.
facility in, I believe in Orlando. You should look up. That is a big tech place, so it's not too far away from you. I can't think of the name at the moment, but it'll come back.
Maybe if Algo moons and I have a substantial amount of capital, I'll open one of those up right here in downtown St. Pete. I'm sure it would get hella attention.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and virtual reality isn't amazing and easily accessible yet. It's pretty cool, but I do agree more with David that I do think it'll happen relatively rapidly with just the pace of technological expansion. I mean, the Oculus and stuff is cool, but
It's
it's
all right.
it's not anywhere where close to where I want it to be. Like I could probably spend half an hour. I actually have one. I haven't put it on like 6 months because I'm pretty
Bro,
disinterested in it.
y'all got to look up Spatial Labs with Idris, and then HoloLens. That's the future we're going. It's just going to be a combination of. It's basically like Iron Man movie. It's an overlay. Is the
Yeah.
technology we're really going to be using?
Oh,
That one's going to
yeah.
come faster than the virtual world that to be.
Like augmented.
It's going to be overlay augmented where you can interact with it. So look up Spatial Labs.
Yeah, I'll certainly agree with that. The augmented reality is certainly going to be here
My question
before
is, are we going to have to
before
like
anything good
really
virtual.
to really interact with it? Will we
They
have
got
to
the
always wear
gloves.
like
Microsoft.
gloves and stuff? But like, would we, or is it really going to be something like with Musk and this Neuralink and all the craziness about like plugging some a chip in
I
your
don't know
neck?
about anything Elon Musk.
Yo, did you guys
kind of biased now.
have you guys watched that video with the monkey
I,
though, with the playing
yeah,
Pong?
I've seen
yeah.
that.
It's
It's scary.
wild. I mean, they take
I don't know if
the controller away, and he's just controlling the paddles with his brain, just like sipping on that delicious banana smoothie.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't even want to like that's the future. Like your parents like or like my parents were always like I try to tell them about something new and cool, and they just like no, I don't even want to talk about it. That's where I feel like I am kind of with that. I'm like that's free. That freaks me out.
Yeah.
I'm open.
But,
Elon
I
Musk
mean,
buying Twitter.
Yeah, and that's that it is a lot more likely. But to a point that C. Will was making earlier with like virtual reality and like helping people with like through like physical therapy and like retraining them how to walk, that is the initial goal of Neuralink too. Is also to help people that might be paralyzed and actually like recreate those connections artificially, essentially. But the future of its possibilities are kind of wild. I mean, like you said, like we just talked about, they taught a monkey how to play Pong, which is amazing in and of itself. But then they took away its controller, and it was still playing Pong with its brain. I mean, well, the controller was still there. They just unplugged it. So the controller wasn't doing anything. He was just moving it like he would, thinking about where he wanted the
That's
paddle to
insane,
be,
though.
Sick.
and it worked perfectly. And he was just, sipping on his banana smoothie.
You better watch out, JT. Gonna be charting stocks and cryptos coming for all of us.
Oh, well,
Yeah, that just blows my mind. That was a fun conversation, though.
yeah, this has really been great.
Someone said we buying Twitter. I see a pretty funny tweet because I put out the meme of Gus Fring from Breaking Bad and whatnot, and saying like, I hold Algo because I believe in decentralized finance. You hold it. We are not the same.
Oh yeah,
I saw someone tweet out said Elon Musk buys Twitter for 48 point whatever $billion or however much he spent. I downloaded it for free from the App Store. We are not the same.
Hey, we've got the Hulk right here saying, imagine Silvio and Elon in the same room together. I mean, that'd be probably,
Honestly, Silvio would be annoyed, I think.
yeah, it would probably lead to a good conversation though. And it's like,
so smart. Like I feel like he could have a conversation with anyone.
oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, on that note though, I feel like this has been a great discussion. Does anyone have anything they want to add to it?
Go watch the Silvio McCauley and Lex Friedman interview on YouTube. That's one of the things I'd recommend. Go watch JT's interview with Paul Regal. Both of those are great, especially thinking about Algorand right now. Take price out of it. Stop worrying about the price. Stop looking at Coinbase every 5 minutes to see if it's fallen to 50 cents or not. Make sure you're not over leveraged. Obviously, that's a good thing because then that'll keep you from being paranoid about the price action. But look at the fundamentals. If you're someone who's new to Algo, if you're someone who's new to blockchain and all that stuff, I literally was telling somebody in a line where we were waiting for a ride yesterday. It took an hour and a half. Told them all about Algorand, and I didn't at once mention price and about mooning and about being rich. Like, it's not about that. It's about it's the tech advancing our civilization and us, bringing decentralized finance to the masses.
Yep.
The world being more connected, more open, and more inclusive to everybody. So,
yep, 100%.
My
Borderless economy, like Silvio's talking about, easier access, banking the unbanked, getting everybody on board with the internet and the ability to have some wealth. That's what this is all about.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself, boys. This has been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. I appreciate all of you that's been commenting in this live chat. It's been a great live chat. I've been keeping an eye on it. And thanks again to both of you for coming on and doing the show.
Yep.
Appreciate y'all. It's always a pleasure.
See you later, Algo fam.
Yeah.
See you later, guys.
Peace, y'all.